gobbo kind of awful group of people who just yell Demacia in front of people.
Dear. Yeah, they could do a German one. There's a myriad of champions that would fit well into that.
Just the hooligan skin line. I'm there for it. Yeah, G4, it's just genius.
Oh dear. Oh, Kled as well, because he swears all the time.
my
You
God,
could
yeah,
Scouser
genius.
Kled.
Scouser Kled. What you doing in my lane? I can't say that on air because my normal next word in the Scouse accent is a lot more offensive.
Oh my God.
I'll leave it to your imaginations, dear listeners and viewers. As
Brilliant.
we are onto the Rifters, the level 1 ward swept out in the bot side as Cassin's actually found an angle into this bush. I don't know whether they'll look for this early invade or late invade at this point. I think they might do. This is going to be a bit of level 1 shenanigans, Oak.
Oh, and Hachimecha kind of having to give up the priority on this blue. A little bit scary for him because especially with a Syndra lane, how easy this lane can push and gain priority. I don't know if there's the return available to look for blue on the other side of the map. So Hachimecha, depending on Kassin's pathing, could either get locked into a linear clear or even only have that one camp available.
Maybe. Does get away with getting the wolves on that side of the map at least. We'll now go towards the Raptors. We'll keep an eye on how he decides to path that goes on. Because otherwise, yeah, it's kind of eyes on this Syndra and then maybe eyes on this Olaf as well, who does like to cause some shenanigans earlier on as well. And I'm curious now, obviously, as this was a change, a play made by CGA as Kaken's actually forced the wrong way and Hachimecha is here. He's going to have the flash to charge over the wall. He's been put in no man's land, and this isn't no man's land. He just said straight over the wall and into the enemy territory. I don't think he's got anywhere to go. I think it's just first blood, surely.
This is a very weird situation to be in because Poppy did miss his Q, which means Cocoon's kind of just sitting here. And with this wave slow pushing into mid side and having this TP available, so long as he does die at some point, he hasn't really lost out on too much. But that kill does go over to Hachimecha. That's first blood even. It's a pretty big lead to get this early on into the game. And that's already TP down from Cocoon in a matchup we do not want to see him laning extended in.
I'll give you the benefit of the doubt there, because I think it was the first good move we've seen out of Rascal Jesters as well. So that's well phrased.
That's true.
Was, you roll with it. That's the way of the caster. And don't get me wrong, it was reactive stuff. It was off Hachimecha having his early jungle start.
Yeah.
Messed with. But a nice spot out on Cassin here as the Skull Crabs have spawned means I don't think we're going to see Hachimecha able to come and contest that. That'll be the end of all that funny business, at least for now.
Yeah, and even with that gank getting pulled off, Hachimecha then lost the timer to look for this blue in the top side. So you can already see Kassin has extended that CS lead or jungle camp clear a little bit. And Hachimecha's kind of picking up the dredges from that now, as can maybe look for an invade angle, especially with this Syndra, but a little bit tricky.
He's going back. Remember, Kakun didn't burn the flash because he knew he was kind of dead to rights, but wasted a lot of time as Hachimecha was just investigating where there was an angle in here. We'll now spot out the Victor who, with his incredible pimp walk that's come through over the few changes he had to that animation, does have the most stylish way of walking up and saying, yeah, who do you think you are? There's a full JoJo walk to it now. It's great.
Yeah, I feel like I'm going to become a bit of a Cocoon fanboy because he plays all the champions I love to see in meta right now. He plays Victor after the changes where his champion hasn't been as popular anymore. He plays Swain as well, Daddy Swain. I'm a big fan of this champion's player pool.
Does that make LeBlanc mommy to sort of fill in the Noxian family tree?
Nah, she's too young. I mean, actually, I don't know how old LeBlanc is.
She's been around for a long time in lore.
Oh, yeah, she's older than she's meant to be, right?
Yeah.
She's been like hundreds of years.
Excellent makeup techniques.
Maybe you're right.
The blood of innocence in order to keep her youthful
I didn't even think about this.
There you go. Genius. The family tree continues to expand.
Oh my God.
What madness have we stepped into, Oak? We're 4.5 minutes. Okay, nearly 5. And this is the level we've got to. Scouser's skins and the family tree of Daddy Swain and Mommy LeBlanc.
Yeah. I wonder who's the child in that. Can we find an in-law child?
Surely
yeah, probably. Yeah. Which makes sense because most Draven players are also whiny babies. So
I'm just going to put this out there. I was playing with J-Real last night and he was playing Draven. He is also our host. That's
I know what
dangerous.
I said.
That's very dangerous to say.
I know what I said.
Okay. If you're out there, note it down. Put him under the bus for me. This is going to be great. Hold on for the fireworks after the game.
Oh no, I can't. Jay knows how to get me. It's actually quite bad. I'm gonna bring us back into the game because one thing that we talked about, or you talked about at least, was the Nap Olaf, and has already managed to generate a little bit of a CSD in that lane. Now that's going to be mitigated somewhat by on being able to purchase his items, but just having this space in the top side to get Ana on the back foot means that maybe can put a bit of jungle pressure, or more so at least, as we're seeing a bit skirmishing in the bot river, just pulling that pressure so that he has the priority on that TP. So important for any skirmishes around this first Drake, because Ocean Drake first Drake is very impactful in some of these lanes.
And especially considering the changes that have come through the Drakes in recent weeks as well. Basically, an extra 50% of their efficacy is a big, big deal. What's got you wincing there?
No, you're right. I was just remembering the dragon.
Oh, there you go. Like, oh yeah, changes. Wait, I thought I missed something on screen. No, I just traumatized him by bringing up the dragon changes.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, there were a lot of situations where people were just leaving first Drake, and I like that there's been a little bit more pressure put on some of these teams to actually look for it because the reward is that much higher, but they are tanky now, which makes it very scary. I've seen a lot of junglers die into, well, not any junglers in these leagues, but I've seen a lot of junglers die into first Drake by themselves. It's been quite an event on Synapse.
Indeed it has. And I think there's also something to be said for the fact that for a lot of games, particularly at this kind of level, it would often be Herald traded for something bot normally plays, but now it feels like Herald for Dragon trade is a trade some teams are more willing to take. Is Nemo does go for a headbutt pulve trade, but not too much more to be found as yet. And there is a little bit of a CS lead in this bot lane right now, a little bit of one on the top side as well, and that's partly off some of the weird jungle shenanigans, partly just off some good laning. And is leading to CGA with that 500 gold lead, and we'll see whether we are going to see any early scams coming through, because we've yet to see anything really explosive. Haven't had anything outside of that first weirdness with Hachimecha running Kakun down towards the bot side of the map. As another headbutt pulve goes in, Sol gets out of the way of the ultra shock laser by not moving, and will manage to hold on here for now. But you can sort of see the power of the Alistair into Sivir. One pops the spell shield, the other knocks him up, and Yuumi doesn't have a lot to say about it so far.
Yeah, indeed. And actually being able to flex their muscles, consistently shut these waves is not only important getting them on map, fogging up, as well as setting up vision, but can also potentially set up for the straight if they're looking towards it. Instead, Kassin is eyes towards his top side. He's looking towards Herald, and this is immediately spotted out by a blue trinket, which means now there's a couple of options that Rascal Jester can opt into, and whether or not they want to rotate Hachimecha up to this top side or just go for that equivalent exchange within the Drake, which you noted earlier.
That's it. But the problem is they don't have a lot of pressure on bot side, and Hybrid and Nemo haven't rotated up, so it will be a 3v3. And I think CGA have managed to mitigate too much of an ability for Rascal Jester to trade back, and that's a fantastic one. Kakun burns the Chaos Storm, call it Cosmic Storm, in the mid lane to make sure they've got pressure there. And Hachimecha will take this opportunity to maybe go for a brief invade and see whether he can get a hold of a Gromp or something. But that is a relatively small silver lining, all things said and done. It's a pretty easy and well orchestrated Herald take by Crest.
You should also be aware of the reset times. You just saw Herald taken, and if there's blue buff, it's just spawning, because it's immediately going to be looking towards it. But he manages to finesse the Grom. So small wins, small returns, maybe instead, I should say.
Yeah, they do manage to get that and get rid of that blast cone to make it harder for an easier trip in. I don't know who secured that. I think it was double smites coming down, so we'll double check now. It does look like Kassin managed to get that one. Credit to him. Managed to take that one out from Hachimecha's nose, and right now it's CGA in the driver's seat, even if they have lost the first blood, and they've got something to make happen with this Herald. And I am curious where you want to see this drop, because I feel like there's an argument for all three lanes, really, with who's in them.
Yeah, indeed. I think the default to mid lane is always like, let's just get the map opened up as much as possible. It allows Nema to get on map and set up more extensive vision lines. But in this matchup specifically, I don't know if it's ever going to get push, which means we're going to have to see Hybrid rotate into mid wave. So honestly, the easy default is chucking it in a lane to looking to secure this Drake. I actually don't mind this option at the moment, and maybe they'll be able to find that opportunity. If they are able to look towards bot side though, and get Hybrid and even set it better position than he currently is. Like, Cole's almost stacked, by the way. He's very close to hitting a rather large spike.
Yeah, you can see Sol's traded back to get his own Cole, but he's a little ways off getting that. And yeah, CGA won't even need to drop the Herald yet. So they just managed to get a hold of the dragon before that happening. So no need to use it as a counterweight. Overcome Rascal Jester, and there is a keeper's verdict down to 2,000 HP.
Oh, this is scary.
CGA being too greedy.
Yeah, but Rascal Jester just unaware or don't want to pull the trigger, even with having Soul in prime position and Recap on this Syndra. I feel like we've been watching Recap do not a lot at the moment. Has built up a bit of a CS lead within his mid lane, almost 16, 17 creeps. But in return, that CS lead, I don't know if that's meaningful enough to
Yeah,
counterweight this Victor pick that's coming.
I kind of agree. And like now, Cassin's got a little bit more time to use this Herald where he chooses. He will choose to use it mid lane.
Yep.
Get this one in here, help even out some of that gold. Hatchimatch will try and come through, but I don't think he's going to be able to stop too much. Keeper's verdict knocks away the Syndra, though, which means she won't get. Sorry, the Victor. Sorry,
Yeah.
which means they won't get gold in there. So Hatchimatch with a little bit of gold denial from those plates coming through goes only into Cassin's pocket.
Yeah, it's a bit rude, to be honest. I think it's a bit mean.
I think that's fair. I mean,
I
Poppy,
think you should be
someone who's
kinda...
supposed to be the hero. You know, where's the lollipop he's getting? It's like Jekyll and Hyde.
Yeah, it's not very Damascene.
Like normally I'm a paragon of virtue and justice until I take out the giant lollipop, and then I am a monster of unspeakable proportions.
Yeah, and so this Herald specifically.
I love what you went in. Yep, that's exactly it. Moving on.
Well, no, yeah, we were just on the same wavelength. I was completely with you. I did want to talk about this Herald usage though briefly, because this is something we've seen teams opt into quite a lot, especially with the buffs to second Herald. People just love dropping the mid lane, get a little bit of damage down on that turret, and then immediately, so long as you know that you will have a priority on the second Herald, and considering they have Olaf Wukong as their top side, probably likely, that can straight up lead into a very easy unlock within that mid lane tier 1, which is so pivotal for map control.
Completely agree with you, and we need to see where the CGA commits have, because honestly, while Rascal Jesters have been, I think it's fair to say, coming out second best so far in this game, I would say straight losing, because the game's not very playable right now. They have been the ones that are behind on things like the objectives. They have had to sort of fight for their own buffs and stuff like this, and Hatchimecha driven out of his blue side jungle for the second time this game. That's the kind of advantage which can really start to build up against Rascal Jester. Now, you need to see them start to get something back, as Sol and Secret might have overstepped here. That's the final chapter afterwards. Sol headbutted back in, but there's an exhaust through, and the double summon is costing a lot. Flash away from Sol, going to try and run after them. Secret hops off, of course, going to hop straight back on. And double summoners, 4 summoners actually popped by Rascal Jester in the bot lane, but at least they get out here.
Yeah, but they're going to lose all this priority on the wave, as well as giving Hybrid and Emma maybe the opportunity to roam towards this mid side. We're going to see what they try and do with this timer now. And yeah, honestly, though, pretty big for Rascal Jester just to get out with their lives, especially because we know the scaling factor of this Sivir Yuumi is so potent. The fact that they've come out of lane, even, pretty big win.
Hugely agree. And while we focused elsewhere, because that's where the limited action has been, Sol and Hybrid have been the focal points of their team successes throughout this split, honestly, for the side of Rascal Jesters, pretty much throughout the year as well. And while we have seen Sol and Hybrid, with Sol in particular, kind of struggle to synergize with the team, partly because the shift has been towards 3 item spikes, not 2 item spikes, and the team has needed him online a little earlier than the champions have allowed for. Getting out here with an item with a decent CS lead, while Recap is at least managing to hold some pressure, is good news for Rascal Jesters. But while the game is stabilized relatively for now, you've still got to be a little afraid. We know what Hybrid can do on the Zeri, and trading evenly, I'm not sure what Rascal Jesters will do with that as yet. I don't know whether I trust them yet, Oak.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, even we can talk about Sivir Yuumi all day, but it's still a Zeri. This champion has obscene late game potential. I think it's topping the charts right now in pentakills. Just overall in comp at the moment.
It's either that or the Sivir, because both Zeri and Sivir both had a day where within 24 hours, 3 people got a pentakill on the champion.
It's just madness. Yeah, AD's but AD carries a weak role, so got to keep that in mind.
Your bitterness is understood as Hatchimetra goes in and really regrets it.
Oh my god!
And I think Rascal Jesters are just lose everybody. That's triple over. I know is here, but that Ornhorn is just sending them on to the great beyond. Everybody died. Yeah,
and that's, I guess, the strength of this Wukong Olaf that we talked about would have this automatic priority on the Herald. Now, there were 2 key mistakes as well that come out from Rascal Jester, which maybe we'll get a replay on that I'll be able to talk about. But right now, we can kind of foresee how this next 5 minutes is going to go, because unlocking this Herald as well as platings falling down as we get the replay here is going to be so important for CJ to get more pressure on the map, extend the vision line even further, and continue to play this game. Now, when we're looking for Rascal Jester to find a successful fight, the first thing is getting Hatchemetcha in a position to look for a pick. And whilst he tries to look for it here, there's nobody else to follow up from this. Recap is completely disconnected from this fight, which means that your main focus, your main damage point within this early game through that unleashed power isn't there to follow up. And you saw there the second part, which is that I know with that Call of the Forge God, such an important team fighting tool for this team, came in so late into that fight that they lost all shreds of possibility within there.
Herald immediately summoned mid lane to open up that tower as you asked for earlier. There it is, first tower of the game, and suddenly this game broken wide open in CJ's favor. Quick note as well, Secret was in the middle of dashing to Hatchemetcha when the Cyclone came up and got interrupted. He was left not on the Poppy, both die, and suddenly that Yuumi, that critical mid-game team fighting monstrosity we know she can be, taken straight out like that, and the fight went horribly wrong, and now CGA, well, look at it, 3,000 gold, second Dragon, just use the second Herald. This game is in their court.
Yeah, and actually, to be fair, I think we're going to be keeping eyes on that pretty much all game, because there are a myriad of displacement and disruption tools within CGA can really do a number on Secret if he is piloted onto Hatchemetcha instead of some of the more safety picks like Soa. Even with that, he can still get picked off. So I'm very excited to see if Nema, Cocoon, or Kassin can disrupt this Yuumi further in some of the later fights, especially because that is so important to making sure that Yuumi can't run away with the game.
Kaken will wisely use his death ray there to scout out the bush. Like, I think I'm being ganked here, and the answer is absolutely yes. Good game sense to avoid the attempted two-man play onto him on the bot side. And I am looking at this game, and yes, it's been slow, and we asked Rascal Jesters to come out with the win if they wanted to make sure they were on the right trajectory. A lot of nearly wins is not enough to actually secure yourself a good position in the league, and they have got the 2-0 head-to-head against CJ right now, but if CJ win, they get the game advantage, and if they can keep that up over the next couple game days, they will be the ones to secure fourth head-to-head or not.
Yeah, it's been very weird watching Rascal Jester find limited success in summer, especially considering, I mean, I was such a big fan of them in spring. The way that they played through Soul and Hatchemetcha as well being so pivotal on stuff like, I mean, even we're seeing it now, the Poppy, which he's actually looked... he's been struggling on this game, and Spring looked oh so potent on it. And seeing the disconnect between him, and once again he's getting picked off. The tail continues to tell.
The keeper's verdict comes through, but it's just too late. He dies, and this comp from CGA well and truly online, and Kassin in particular. How much more confident is this guy on something like a Wook on some of the other picks? 202, Nemo as well on an engaged pick. When we have criticized CGA in the past, it's been off their difficulties in finding consistent engage options. That's not been a problem this game, and they have been capitalizing oh so well. They can get to another tower here. That will be all the outer towers down, and then they can really start to strangle Rascal Jesters out of this game.
And you can already see it coming in before this bot lane turret's been unlocked. Look at the vision spread out throughout this jungle. A lot of deep vision within key entry points within blue side jungle, as well as marking off that mid lane as well, because they have that automatic priority in the wave. And I think setting up this vision is one thing, but being able to play through it is another. And we saw that there on the pick up to Hatchemetcha, and that's really what secured in this tier 2. Now, we're about to approach 20 minutes, and has to be noted that 20-minute Baron is definitely an opportunity for a Victor Zeri combination.
True.
And my eyes would be very much towards that as the next objective for CJ, just because of how potent their picks have been this game.
Recap doing the old Syndra special, which is charge that buff away, stunned the wall, and that is now secured. Sol is here running very quickly, but that's because he's got himself a Cloud Rift to start scuttling himself around on, as Kassin over the wall is not done trying to cause havoc with Hatchemetcha's jungle. Honestly, that's been the game plan since level 1, really. Hatchemetcha been outside of that one attempted play onto Kaken, which did work out in the mid lane early on, has struggled to find purchase on this game, and Kassin and the rest of CJ have kept track of the Poppy and made this oh so potent pick feel a little bit toothless, all things said and done.
Indeed. That's it's been interesting to see how CJ have disconnected the attempts from Rascal Jester and really picked off Hatchemetcha, who, yeah, I guess would be the facilitator of this early game outside of recap on this Syndra, and has been set down, and oh my. Yeah,
the top side is a little bit of an advantage then, while the bot lanes have still remained a little bit more even. That's about a 2,000 gold lead in the jungle. That's a bit of a gold lead in the top lane as well. Like, you're wondering where CG have got their advantages. You can see it here.
And you're talking about 2 item spikes earlier. Nothing better than a Wukong and Divine Sundera and either Death's Dance, or we've seen a couple of cleavers recently, but and it might be that he's opting into that again now this game. And yeah, that's so scary to deal with, especially for Einon Hachimecha, who you've already noted, been put behind. There you go. This is an answer basically because some of the members that they've been picking off from Rascal Jester have been Hachimecha, have been potentially Ino as well, because these will be the players pushing up so far. And considering the amount of burst and DPS coming out from these carries, especially once we hit 3 items, I'm not surprised we see opting towards, hey, we just want I want a hybrid item so I can pick off whoever is flubbing in positioning.
And of course, this used to be a much more core item on Wukong before the durability changes made that some of that survivability options oh so potent on him. But, you know, he stacks up Black Cleaver incredibly fast with the ultimate. Maybe we'll have to wait and talk about that, as Nap has had to throw down the Ragnarok on and trade out with the Forge God. Deicide is the angle, but overcome the rest of Rascal Jesters. It's still going to be a 1-for-1. Nap goes straight to Valhalla, but he'll drag the Forge God with him.
And they're going to get an exchange in turrets here as well. We see this TP is so dangerous. Recap, what are you doing?
Oh, Recap, there's the flash and Oak's despair. I can feel his head in his hands right there. Flash straight away, teleport pop, tower not saved. And yes, it'll be traded out. Rascal Jester's get a bounty, but they'll lose the dragon, they'll lose the tier 2, and they'll lose a little bit of pride from Recap, who's left a bit bruised post that teleport.
Yeah, that was a decision that he made. They do actually, in turn, though, get bounties. So they get the top lane bounty. It looks like they're going to pick up the tier 2 as well. And we do see other members of CJ scrambling to try and get their replacement in tow. So gold income for Rascal Jester, but definitely macro lead for CGA.
Oh,
Hachimecha.
Well, Hachimecha found hybrid and regretted that very quickly. He is no longer in a hybrid working situation because he's going to be working from the grave. Sol flashes over the wall, that final chapter thrown down as well, and that means it's Baron o'clock because there's no jungler, and all of the key summoners are off the bot lane of Rascal Jesters.
Oh no, this is disaster. Not only do CGA manage to find Soul Point, this cloud so important for Wukong and Olata accessing these fights, something that they've already managed to use to pilot through this early and mid game. Now they had the Baron as well, and we talked about how early this team can take Baron. You see it just gets shredded down there, and immediately my eyes are thinking, okay, what's left for CGA to look towards? Because we have 2 tier 1s available. This is a couple of turrets that can be unlocked purely for that pressure on the map, but there could potentially be an end coming out. We're playing on Victor with 2 items now. That's Sonya finally being picked up, so important to deal with. Call of the Forge God, the unleashed power, these key burst tools that could really disrupt his potential sieging.
And we now need to see when Hybrid gets a hold of that Infinity Edge. We know that's when the LCK starts certifying a few of those area moments. The LPL is an exact same situation. We know what this champion does as 3 items. We know exactly the kind of monstrosities that come out afterwards. And I want to start this conversation while we've got a chance here. As you can see, the XP and level discrepancy also going very heavily in CG's favor. I want to talk about MVP briefly, and this might sound a little bit of a non sequitur, but I've always judged MVP as not being the best player in the league per se, but the most valuable, the one that means the most to their team, and that often means that actually they're the best player as well. But I wouldn't say there's an argument for someone like Hybrid being the most valuable player in the league, because yes, he's a very good player, but B, CGA would collapse without an AD carry of the kind of caliber of Hybrid. And he's been so important to the team. He's now getting online. He finds Hachimecha there. And there's that argument. I'll throw it out there as a bit of a dark horse for that, as the shelf will now continue.
No, I actually love that kind of conversation, especially because I remember doing playoffs work towards CGA last split, and Hybrid was sitting at the top of multiple charts. He had the highest CS in the league in spring, and he was also second highest in DPS, one of the highest in kill participation as well. In fact, his kill participation is, I think, identical or just marginally higher than Sol this split.
Yeah, he's second highest, just behind Sangchu, of course.
There you go.
Another one of those teams that really their AD carry. So it's basically him and Sol are 2 and 3 in that stat. They're up at about 76%. So completely agree with that. The siege still continuing here, and it is just a sort of slow bleed out on this turret as CGI are here with every single member. I'm not sure this is the most efficient use of Baron I've ever seen, but it is a stable one.
Yeah, When you do Baron sieges like this, your wave states need to be absolutely perfect. We can see in topside, this slow push isn't yet having much of an effect, although in the next 30 seconds, we're going to really see this catalyze on that top lane tier 2. Yeah, this is a slower play through the Baron, but remember, CGA have multiple times they can play through. They look for the fight, though.
Yeah, they're done waiting. One down already. Forge got his head. It'll be one back, but I don't know whether it'll be enough as Nap. Just run straight through and
my God.
the moment we can begin praising CGA, the moment we say, yeah, what an awesome competition. Let's talk about maybe MVP Dark Horse Canvas Hybrid. Yo, just throw that name out there. They kind of overdive it, shall we say. And Civic gets a couple kills.
Yeah, mixed match patience here. We can see that before this fight starts, top lane wave hasn't been shoved in, and what a beautiful engage coming out from Kassin. But the Hybrid and Cocoon aren't really able to properly impact this fight. And then when you combine that with Nat being, should we say, a little bit eager here at the moment in this part of the fight, it means that they ultimately end up trading. I think it's 2 for 1, and give over a shutdown as well. And they also stop a lot of the Baron pressure. So CGA Baron effectively handled by Rascal Jester, but now we have Soul spawning in just under a minute, and that's another thing for Hatchemecha to try and look towards.
There's a Wormfallen Sacrifice now in Soul's inventory. Was it 3 items for that fight? Did go towards the Lord Dominic's Regard third for a little bit more max HP damage, shall we say, or rather damage against people with more HP than you. And it's probably a better way of putting that. But, you know, he is going to be having to face down the Alistair, the Wukong, the Olaf in his face. So understand that decision means the Infinity Edge is a bit delayed. But the third item spike was in for that fight. Zeri doesn't have it yet. This could be a break point. We know what Civic can do.
Interestingly enough, this Lord Doms has been... People have calced the damage on this item compared to IE. And I think, if I remember correctly, autos only, it's around 330 armor, where that item has more value than IE. So I don't know how much we're going to see it right now. Rascal just to try and start the Drake, but this is so scary. Hybrid's in a perfect position to flank as well.
He does, and he literally came back with the Infinity Edge we were saying he didn't have completed. Ooh. He has now 2 3-item AD carries, a Soul on the line for CG, and Rascal Jester must try and contest. Watch for Nemo's angle. He has Flash, he has Headbutt. He can absolutely find the targets. Cassin, though, taking down about half. He's a bit afraid, and Ultra Shock lasers hitting more like Spartan lasers at this point. We're changing esports to Halo as Nemo also chunks out. Another Ultra Shock laser comes straight on down. Renaming him to Spartan at this point. I know, taken pretty low. Dragon still at half HP. This dance continues. Final chapter coming down.
Oh, here it goes.
Oh, another turnaround. Hybrid gets 1. Hybrid gets 3. Hybrid can look for absolutely everybody. That'll be a death over, but good to the other side as Nat picks one up. Secret taken out. A quadra kill to Hybrid Zeri. And it's straight off to the government office of your choice. Certify it. Zeri is online.
You mentioned it there. IE comes in for Hybrid, and immediately he picks up a quadra kill, dancing as they find a 5 for 0. This team comp came online at the perfect time, right around this Soul, and we saw almost CJ finding, or Rascal Jester finding the return. They found a lot of poke onto Nema, and this eternal dance seemingly almost worked out in favor, but a very clean engage from CJ. Seals to fight. They don't even get the Drake. They head straight towards the Nexus, and they pick up their first win against Rascal Jester and take them over in the leaderboard.
They are now